of the striking stories, I think, is the one of, is it Jose Ponce and Gustavo González? On, when was this? November 28th? In what year?
57, I think.
57?
Yeah.
That's a wild story. Apparently this thing has all kinds of proliferations. There are people around the area who apparently saw elements of the same thing.
Yes, very definitely. It happened in Venezuela.
This was in Venezuela?
Yeah, wasn't it? Wasn't that the one just outside Caracas?
Oh, yes, Caracas,
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now tell us about that story.
Well, these two fellows whom you just mentioned were in the vegetable business down there, and each morning, very early in the morning, they would get in their truck. They had a new truck, and they'd get in this truck and go out to a little farming community of Petare, which is just outside Caracas. They'd go out there and load up with the vegetables for the market, which they would bring in to their customers in the market. On this particular morning, they got into the beautiful residential section of Caracas, and they noticed this glowing, lighted thing over the road, hovering over the road about 4 or 5 feet above the road, or I should say the street. They got to within about 50 or 60 feet of it with their truck, and their engine died on the truck, and their lights went out. And they could, all they could see was this brightly lighted thing motionless there above the street. Well, the two of them got out of the truck and walked slowly toward this thing to determine what it was. They had never seen anything like it before. Suddenly, they told police, they found themselves set upon by some small man-like creatures, and one of these men said that he was knocked down, and he got to his knee, and he was between this creature and the craft, or the UFO. The creature was evidently trying to get by him or get around him to get to the craft. But he thought it was attacking him, and it may have been. At any rate, he pulled his knife, and as this small man-like creature made a lunge at him, he stabbed at it with the knife, and he tried to stab it in the shoulder. He said he might as well have stabbed a rock, because his knife glanced off of it. And he said he thought that he was done, that this was the end of it. As a few seconds later, he was scrambling around on his hands and knees there, and he saw his partner running down the street away from the scene, and he got up and followed him. They only had to go about 3 blocks to a police station. When they got in the police station, they were in such a state of shock that the police thought they were drunk. They examined them and tried to talk to them, and they finally got them quieted down and took down the details of it and went back down there with them. The truck was sitting there. The lights of the truck were back on, but the engine was dead, although the ignition was turned on, and this object, this UFO, was gone. Well, this would have been just another case had it not been for the fact that one of the best-known obstetricians in Caracas had been just about a block behind these men. He had been to a hospital on a case and was on his way home. He saw their truck stop. He saw the object hovering over the street, and he stopped to see what this was all about. He saw the fight and saw the whole thing, and then saw the thing take off. After the men took off for the police station, he saw the little fellows, the humanoids, get into this craft and saw it take off. And he went to the police station and actually got there before these men got away, and he examined them and determined for the police that they were not drunk but were in a state of shock. He later gave sworn statements to the government of Venezuela, and as I note in the book, a very interesting coincidence, on the following day, some of the top newsmen from the United States showed up in Caracas. And whether it was mere coincidence or not, I don't know, but it's strange that they should be there. And this doctor, this obstetrician, was questioned by a delegation of Air Force intelligence men who were sent to Caracas. He was questioned at great length, as were the 2 truck drivers. And the doctor, according to a newspaper in Venezuela, was later flown to this country and for further questioning.
And where'd you dig this story up, Frank? This is I had never heard of this, but why? This happened, when, 57?
Yeah.
58? Why didn't we read about that in this country?
That's a very good question, and the only ones I know who could answer that question would be the wire services, because the story was carried in scores of South American papers and Latin American papers I never saw the story carried in any paper in this country, and I got the whole story by having the wire service accounts for South America translated. Why it was not carried here, I don't know.